So I don't know if I can use this to switch to. Oh, okay. Just the other screen, I guess. Yeah. Okay. That's all right. Hello. How are you today? Sorry, I'm a bit slow. I had kind of mild poisoning, but I'll push it through. It's been great so far, right? It's like a third day. Pretty happy to be here, also to hear all the talks. And one thing that always comes to mind when we're talking about crypto in general is the kind of the problem we have with safety, and not just security. You know, when we're thinking about our security, we're always thinking about keeping our keys secure, or keeping our witnesses secure when we're doing zero knowledge proofs. But actually, like, I have a few examples of problems that are not phishing victims. We also always think about not having calls with people we kind of suspect. We have all of us have had this kind of experience. Some of us were hacked as well, and we always think about phishing. We forget about these kind of things, where we actually have someone with their finger severed, or yeah, some fake police. It's all in France, and I'm gonna tell a little bit why. Yeah, others kidnapped the co-founder of Ledger, and this one I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that, because it was actually secured with a proper time-locked wallet, and still kind of only mildly worked. So yeah, we've had like 72 cases of this in the last year. Why France in particular? I guess. Well, allegedly there was a tax employee that sold some private information, which, together with the leaks from several several companies, kind of made this perfect storm. So hopefully you see at this point in time that I don't want to scare you, right? But this is an actual problem. It goes further than security. Like this kind of data leaks, together with public observability, and all of these can kind of contribute to what's been happening in France. It's not just the allegedly tax information reveal. So how do we get here? Like, what happened, right? There's like mainly three things that we chose as for crypto, basically, and they kind of massively backfired in a way. We can say that Etherscan is amazing. We like Etherscan because you can see its public verifiability. You can see everything. You send a transaction, you get a receipt. You can see it end up correctly. But also, it's kind of a target list. Like, if you are an actual whale, then you're basically saying, "Please hack me," right? But when that comes into not just "please hack me," it can be actually "please kidnap me" or "kidnap my kids." And then this compounds with every exchange that you ever use will, sorry to say, but it will leak information. It has already leaked, and you know it. It has already leaked, and you don't know it. Or it will leak, and maybe you know it or not know it. But this will happen. And so, and not just exchanges, but there's many ways that you can be targeted as a crypto person, right? So this is, it does compound. And then we choose zero delay and no friction, no kinds of like rollbacks or anything. Which is great. Like, we want to use it for payments, but then we forget that if you hold 1,000 ETH on a wallet, that's not the same as holding a few USDC to pay for a coffee. So, yeah, it does compound with this idea that you have someone to hold your keys, right? So let's just walk the stack and see like what do we have to kind of mitigate this and what we have done. We have zero knowledge proofs. This has to be the first one because I've been working with Noir for the last 3 years, so it's a big deal for me. But I am fully aware that zero knowledge proofs, they will always terminate at the prover holding the witness. This is usually our phone. We're all happy. We say, oh, cool. Yeah, all my information, all my transactions are on my phone. That's all good. But if someone points a gun to my head, I'll hand my phone, obviously, right? So it does terminate at the witness holder, hopefully you. Then we have multi-sigs, which has been talked a lot, right, recently. They kind of terminate at the signers in the room. When I'm in the room, it's obviously not a physical room sometimes. But one of the cases I've shown was a family that had a multi-sig, and what they did was kind of simply point a gun to both sides, and then get the multi-sig. So it's like it still didn't do anything for preventing that 1 million extortion. Then we have MPC networks. So all of us, or some of us, may know very good wallet solutions that use MPC. So they actually they are custodian. You have them in different locations, but again, they terminate at different locations. Maybe it's harder to get into them, but there's always a operator again, and always a human on the other side that could be coerced. And then finally, I mean, I could mention other solutions. These are just the kind of things that we think about when we think about holding and keeping your secure, not safe. Which would be hardware wallets. We know you try to keep hopefully you keep your most of your coins in a hardware wallet, but that also will always terminate at the person that holds them. And again, no matter if you keep your seed very well guarded, or but again, if someone points a gun to your head, you'll tell them whatever pin or whatever, and you'll just give them away. Right, I hope you do that, right? Because that's, I mean, so the thing, the common thing is like they don't survive a wrench. If I go with a $5 wrench, it's kind of a very funny classic meme. That if I buy a $5 wrench and I just hit them with the wrench until they give them the password, that's something that currently no one is actually solving, like, for sure. And we're going to see that even the solution I'm going to present doesn't really solve it as well, but it definitely helps. And it has worked. That little case with the time-locked wallet worked in a way. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So this is a very old SKCD. We all thought it was a joke at the time. And now it's actually not a joke. It's been quite a reality for at least 72 people last year. So it's always physical. Like, it always terminates somewhere physical. Actually, I was curious and saw how much it costs a $5 wrench. It does not cost $5. So this is the, I guess, inflation coming here. As I was expecting $5. You know, I was like, okay, it's not bad. It's more than that. But yeah, anyway. So let's go back to that time-locked case, because it's very interesting. What happened is that they had a time-locked wallet. The person was, I guess just one person had a time-locked wallet. And they actually threatened him, and he made a transaction. But it didn't went through, because it had a time lock. So they just kidnapped his wife and son, daughter, child, I don't know, wife and child, and just waited it out, which was enough to get them, because the lock worked. So they actually got caught because of that, because the police had enough time to find them and to. So this is an example of a situation where actually self-custody could work if you have this kind of policies. And policies is what I'm going to be talking about today in terms of like how do you keep yourself safe from a $5 range attack. So yeah, it worked, but it's not really a pleasant situation, right? But I mean, it did work, okay? So nobody's filling this gap. Like, you get chains like Aztec. I'm close to the Aztec project, so I'm happy to talk about like how it could potentially hide your on-chain activity. You may select what you disclose and everything, all good. But again, you're holding your witness in your phone, so the trust terminates in you. Zcash is kind of a more less programmable way of doing it, but it's the same thing. It always terminates at your hardware key or whatever. And then something that people have been talking about, which is stealth addresses, because you want to unlink your identity to your balances. If you have a lot of balance, if you have a lot of ETH, that's fine as long as it's not linked to your identity. So again, it's the mixture between Etherscan and data leaks that will actually put you in danger. So no one is really here to help you if you're found and targeted, even if your coins are private. So what happened if you could have this enforcement out of reach? Because even the time lock is within reach, right? And if you could just outsource that to something instead of someone, that would be a massive win. So the idea here is to, quite simply, you put it in orbit. Okay? This is a bit overwhelming, I guess, because we think satellites and everything. It's not such a big deal. So what we do at Space Computer is we enforce these policies in a TE, and then we just shoot the TE into space, so it's out of reach. So when you execute these policies, they execute in the TE, and plus you avoid the whole problem of side attacks on the TEs, which I guess some of us know that they are kind of not very reliable, but if you put them in orbit, then they're out of reach also for this kind of physical attacks. So with this solution, you can actually enforce things, time-locked transactions. One that I really like about time-locked transactions, it's the deadman switch, which is basically you can have like some kind of service that will execute the transaction if you don't talk with it every month, every 2 months or something. And then that's an example of a transaction that you actually don't mind if it's going to be slow, right? It's no problem. You don't mind if it takes 2 months to trigger, because at that point you're dead, so you don't care about waiting 2 months. But you want that transaction to eventually go through. So that's an example of a time-locked transaction that basically, even if you're caught, even if you're targeted, whoever did it needs to wait 2 months until they get the transaction to them. If your policy it could be even better than that. It could allow for spending caps, which is a pretty big deal if you use, for example, agentic stuff. So you kind of give your agent a wallet, but you tell them, yes, you can only spend up to a certain amount. Blacklisting check. So you wanna be sure that you're not transferring to a known blacklist. And this could be a blacklist from OFAC, it could be your own blacklist, it could be something that's dynamic. That's perfectly fine. You could also have a whitelist. And again, these are very high value transactions. This is supposed to be better than a cold wallet, right? It's transactions that you really, really, really wanted them to be not just secure, but safe as well. Key recovery with biometrics, so you can actually verify a zero-knowledge proof within the satellite. So basically, you can prove that you are the person that you are supposed to be. So as long as you hold your passport, then you can recover the key, for example, make a transaction with your passport. Duress codes, those are like codes that look like normal codes, but they're actually not. And another one, geo-binding. This is a big deal. I would be glad. I would be happy to have a wallet that only works in Europe, right? So if I get targeted, at least it's not someone from North Korea that's gonna make a transaction on my behalf, because it's like geo-binding. So this is a big deal. So it's kind of absolute safety. You don't get just security; you also get this. The safety. And again, this is actually interesting because in my native language, Portuguese, these are the same word, security and safety. They are the same word. We always think about one thing correlated with the other, and this is a perfect example of where security is not safety. So they're composable, and especially they are composable with privacy. I feel like I didn't talk about privacy enough because, again, Etherscan is the biggest deal. So you want to avoid your wallet to be out there for everyone. You need Etherscan for Ethereum because you want it to actually check the state of the network. So you want to advance state, and you want to observe that. But if there's a chain that doesn't need that to advance state, then good. Like you can actually get the privacy. And you can have like a block explorer that won't expose you as a asset holder. So yes, you should conditionally disclose your assets. You should be able to choose which assets do you choose to make private, and the same for functions and everything. So if you're used to work with Zcash, for example, that's an example where your assets can be either private or public. You choose it. We want to have out of this world security. Again, both of these are already in there. Like you can already get very good privacy. You can already get very good security. It's the mixture is the one that you don't get. If they fail, then you're in physical danger. So you want to be physically safe when you disclose your identity. It's something that's non-negotiable. And yeah, this is why your security isn't safety. And you actually need both of them. You want privacy, and then you want the security in order to get your safety. And the way we're solving that is a kind of an interesting. I don't dwell on how satellites work. And I think there was a talk by Philip already about that. You can always talk to me later on. I'd be glad to explain you how the actual satellites will work. How many do we have, how we will launch them. But here it's mostly about why are we doing this, and why is privacy just not enough yet. And yeah, that said, I'm glad to take any questions if you have it.
Thank you very much, Jose. So do we have a question? Do we have a question?
Hi. Sorry, I didn't quite understand. What are you trying to do? You're trying to put the wallet on space?
Yes.
How does that even, how could that be safe from, kidnapping me? If I can access my wallet, somebody force me to, what is that difference of, at all? Sorry.
Because you can enforce policies on the wallet. So it's not on the wallet, but on the key management. You can enforce keys. In policies, you can say, I ask the wallet to make a transaction, but this transaction will take 2 months to make. Or I'm making a transaction, but I'm proving that I'm in Portugal. So I'm not somewhere else. I'm not in North Korea. So I'm probably Portuguese. These kind of policies you can enforce offline, basically off-chain. You can enforce these policies only with the satellite. So you don't disclose the fact that you're opening a time-locked wallet. If you do that in Safe, for example, you need to send a transaction and then wait. It will already give you away that you are sending a transaction and waiting. So if you do that in a Web 2 way, then you get out of this world privacy, basically.
Okay, any more questions, guys? Okay, thank you very much.